bug did not bite today. Fantastic. So we were discussing about, like, I quickly browsed through some of the salient features of the radiation modeling that we were going through. So first thing what we could convince ourselves, very important point, that everything that is incident on a surface is not exactly going to be first absorbed and then radiated, right? So we could really differentiate between the parts which are associated with reflection, okay, then absorption, then emission, and then transmission, right? So what we did, we said that, say typically if you have a surface, say suppose if you are looking for a surface, and on the surface, you know, if there is a emission that is incident upon. So this is the incident energy. So this incident energy, a part can be absorbed in this material. A part of this incident radiation can be absorbed in this material, and then that we called as an absorption. This is very, very important to remember. Then a part can be reflected. Okay, a part can be transmitted. Okay, now the transmission and reflection is not association with the absorption. Whatever is transmitted, whatever is reflected, that is a loss to the incident radiation in terms of absorption, and whatever is absorbed, that is to be a part of that, or the full of that is to be emitted. Right? So this is the game. So there is an incident radiation, there is a reflected radiation, there is a transmitted radiation, there is an absorbed radiation, and a part of that absorbed radiation is emitted. This part, if it is not clear, you don't understand radiation. Okay, these parts have to be very, very clear. Right? So suppose you have a glass surface, right? So when you are putting a torch on top of a glass surface, you will find a part of the light will get transmitted and a part of the light will get reflected. This is not the part which is getting absorbed. Now, when a part is getting absorbed, based on that absorption, you radiate. You don't radiate based on the transmission, based on the reflection. The amount of light energy, photons that are absorbed in the glass is radiated as an emission. And when we are studying the radiative heat transfer, we are studying, you know, essentially these two aspects. What are those two aspects that we are studying? We are studying one aspect, which is how much is absorbed, the incident radiation, how much is absorbed and how much is emitted. Okay, these are the two major aspects that we are arguing and studying here. Now, what is this absorption and emission? You know, we know that, say, suppose if I take a material like this, so what do I expect to happen? If I take a material like this, what do I expect to happen? We know that there are multiple molecular orbitals, molecules. A particular material is composed of large number of molecules, right? So you have large number of molecules. You know, molecules are sitting here. So that is what is a material. Say, suppose if you talk about glass, so glass is basically silicon oxide, right? So you can think about large number of these bonds are there, and these bonds means, you know, in the highest occupied molecular orbital, you have the bonding pairs. This is a sigma bond, right? There's a bonding pair associated with that, and there are lone pairs also here, right? Now, in that sort of situation, if you are putting some radiation on top of that, what happens? You know, temporarily, you know that if I go for a molecular orbital diagram, say this is the highest occupied molecular orbital and this is the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital, and we understand that around highest occupied and lowest unoccupied molecular orbitals, there are a lot of other molecular orbitals who are in the vibrational and rotational state. So, moment the incident radiation is there, these electrons which were in the ground states, I suppose here, they keep jumping here and there. In the quantized orbital or energy states. Okay, these are the quantized energy states which was first discovered by Max Planck. And what he suggested that in this quantized energy, see, moment you supply energy to a material, what they do, they start jumping here and there. Okay, my slides are visible to you, right? I forgot to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. So these oscillations, start. These oscillations they start, and these oscillations are happening in which way? So we assume that moment they absorb some energy, they go to the higher molecular orbital, and then moment they emit, they come back to the ground state and they emit. This is the part of the radiation. So when the electronic transition is taking place because of absorption, okay, this is which we call the radiation is absorbed, and then when they are coming back, when they are jumping to the higher energy states, that is associated with absorption. When they are coming back, that is associated with emission. Okay, now it is not a single molecule there are an array of molecules, there are different combinations of molecules who are there. There are millions of molecules that are there. Now what you do, you consider them to be, say, all of them are not responding in a similar manner to the incident radiation. Why? So suppose you have a lattice like this, you can understand that this lattice has surfaces here. So on the surface we already know the bonds are not satisfied. There is a bulk here, and when you put a light, it is not uniformly distributed across this. So what you can expect, the surface molecule will react in a different way, the bulk molecule will react in a different way, the corner molecules will react in a different way. Essentially, you can consider that there will be this terminology is used very frequently. There will be the density of states. Okay, there will be different density of this energy states at different places of this particular material, and incident radiation will be absorbed in different matter in the different density of states. So how do I develop a generic theory looking at this picture, right? So first, this was proposed by Wien. Okay, so what Wien proposed that say suppose this particular material I have shared with you. What he said that to calculate the number of modes of these oscillations of electromagnetic radiation that is possible in a cavity. Cavity is a generic geometry. Consider a one-dimensional box of side L. So you consider a side A, and you know that moment these are oscillating, these electrons are oscillating and emitting energy. It has a wavelength of lambda. Now, if L is the length and if lambda is the wavelength, so you may know how many waves are there. That is nx by 2. N can be 1, 2, 3, 4. Say suppose if this 2L, L is 2 lambda, then what is N? It is N equal to 4. There are 4 nodes essentially. You can very easily see that how does that happen. That say suppose if a 2 lambda means if you have a L space which is associated with 2 lambda means, say this is the length, say this is 2 lambda, that means you can accommodate 2 waves, right? So you have got 4 nodes here, right? So it's very simple, straightforward, a geometric argument that has been put in that L by lambda is nx by 2. Now in that sort of situation, if you have the wave speed lambda into nu to be c, this is the speed of light of propagation of an electromagnetic wave. So lambda nu, if you just replace it, you get nu equal to nx into c by 12 just by rearrangement. Now nx in x direction, you can have nx, ny in y direction, nz is z direction, and you have one constraint here that there will be 2 modes for each trio of integers because there are 2 independent polarizations possible. What is independent polarization? Say suppose you shine laser lights, right? So if you shine a laser light, these laser lights are polarized light, right? Without interfering each other, there are 2 independent polarizations are possible. That is from the practical knowledge you are getting, right? Now with this constraint, what you are looking at, to find the number of modes with the frequency between nu and nu plus delta nu. Why? Because later on I will plan to integrate between nu equal to 0 to infinity. So I'm looking at a box between nu to delta nu, and then I find the number of modes. If I do that, what I do, I calculate the volume, that is C by 2L cube of the cube divided by what? Divided by total volume, right? The triplet of positive is this is the total volume divided by the volume. So this gives you the, so this number comes out to be the number of modes of oscillation between nu and nu plus d nu, right? And then from there you get that it is convenient to express the density of states. So from here, the density of states, you get a very simple formula like this. Now, when you get the density of states, from there you calculate the energy per unit volume, which is called the Rayleigh-Jean law. Okay, Rayleigh-Jean's law, and that is U nu dV, which comes out to be this, right? And this is the classic Wien's equation, which was the first explanation for this black body radiation. Now, what happened after you derive this equation, and then you perform the experiments that you get, then you saw that the divergence of this relation at high frequency and low wavelength was known as ultraviolet catastrophe. So what happened, this expression was able to explain most of the phenomena, but then at very high frequency, low wavelength, that is at high energy situations, this is unable to really explain what exactly is the nature of the black body radiation. So then comes the Planck's genius. Okay, so what he suggested that, this is where the first proposition of energy equal to n into h nu is coming. Okay, now what he is saying that, average energy per oscillator was calculated using first the Boltzmann distribution. Okay, so he assumed that average energy per oscillator is this. Okay, now then what he did, then he come up with the average energy. Just do this mathematics. You will see these are very dry maths. Is done in terms of calculating from this expression the average energy, and then he can come up with an average energy of oscillator to be something like this. And then from there, if you calculate the energy per unit volume of the radiation of the cavity, which is U nu T d nu, that comes out to be UT d lambda, which is equal to H8 by Hc by lambda to the power 5, 1 by e to the power Hc lambda kt minus 1 d lambda. So starting from a very simple geometry, first it was Wien who could give you the energy per unit volume or the energy density for an oscillator, which was later corrected by the introduction of the quantum mechanics, the packet of energy E equal to h nu. This was rectified by Planck. And then if you take integration of this over a t, what you get this will do the derivation once again. A into t to the power 4 ut equal to a into t to the power 4 e equal to a into t to the power 4, which is nothing but the Stefan-Boltzmann law. So the radiation law that you are using at this stage is nothing but you are starting with the assumptions of quantum mechanics. So in a visible domain, you are expecting what? You are expecting that. Let me go back to the basic equation first. Sorry, this one is the basic equation only. So I'm expecting that one part is C1 by lambda to the power 5, and the other part is 1 by exponential C2 by lambda t minus 1. So if I just notice this part and this part separately, if I just follow this part and this part separately, C1 by lambda to the power 5. Hello, am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So C1 by lambda to the power 5 is the situation you can expect that at very low frequency, this is very high. At very low wavelength, this is very high. Okay, at very low wavelength and very high frequency, this is very high because this is very small. Whereas if lambda is very large, long wavelength, say infrared, say if you look at ultraviolet, this particular parameter is very large. But if you look at infrared, then this parameter is this lambda. If lambda is very large, then this contribution of this parameter is very small. So you can expect if you plot lambda in the x-axis and the entire parameter in the y-axis, you may say that as lambda increases, you may see that it will reduce with a power exponent. Whereas this is a very interesting term. You may see that when lambda is small, this exponential quantity will be much larger than 1. Right? However, when lambda is very large, this 1 will predominate. Okay, and you can see this can go up to 1 only. If lambda can be so large, then this can go up to 1 only. So there also you may find that if it is nearing 1, then the denominator will become, say suppose this is about 1.00001. So the difference will be 0.00001, which will also be very large. So that signature of the graph will be coming from this particular term. So this is the correction by Max Planck. This was the classical equation coming from the classical mechanics, right? Quantum statistics. This is coming from the statistical mechanics, statistical thermodynamics, whereas this one is coming from the quantum statistical thermodynamics. This U lambda expression for U lambda. And typically, not for a black body, the wavelength versus the energy, it comes out to be like this. It comes out to be like this, right? Which also, this handout I have already circulated. You may see that at the end of this plot, these are the plots that are done, right? These are the plots that are done, which is what? Which is the energy versus the wavelength plot. What is this plot? What does this plot is saying? This plot is saying that the black body emissive power as a function of wavelength and temperature. So at a high temperature, you may find that when the temperature is high, you may find that the black body may radiate like this, right? Now at a lower temperature, the black body may radiate like this. What is a black body? Black body means in that sort of situation, I'm assuming whatever incident radiation is given to me, that is absorbed, and whatever has been absorbed, that is all emitted. It's a very ideal situation. At high temperature, the emissive power will be more because it will be absorbing more energy. High temperature means, you are supplying more energy. Low temperature means you are supplying less energy. And at high temperature, it will absorb more energy. Whereas at low temperature, it will absorb less energy. And at the same time, it will emit less energy. However, one very important factor to realize here, the energy that it is absorbing or emitting will have a maxima in terms of the wavelength. It will not be maximum at all wavelength, and which you can very obviously understand, because if you define a molecule, if you define a material, the band gap will decide for which wavelength this particular material is going to absorb the maximum. So this maxima corresponds to that. So maximum number of molecules that are absorbing at a particular wavelength, right? Now, yeah.
Like all temperatures will have a maxima at a similar region, we can say. Like in you have given 2 examples, all of them are quite close to each other.
But they are not same. That is another very important factor to notice.
Yeah, they are also not same. That also.
They are also not same, right? So at different excited, you see there are two factors here. One is the energy that you are supplying, the energy the wavelength distribution of that. Whatever incident radiation you are giving, you are not giving a monochromatic radiation, right? You are giving, say, suppose solar light is coming, right? It has a lot of different types of frequencies and wavelength, right? This particular wavelength where you are hitting the peak, where there is a resonance between the incident radiation wavelength and the band gap that is existing, where you will find there is a maximum absorption and maximum emission even for a black body. That's what is Planck's contribution is all about. If you don't have the idea of discrete energy states and band gap, you miss out this maximum. You only have this particular arm, which is lambda to the power 5. This particular arm is lambda to the power 5 arm. This particular arm is contribution at ultraviolet range. This particular contribution is coming from those band gap
that we got from Planck's equation.
Right. Otherwise, it will keep on increasing from the Wien's hypothesis. From a statistical point of view, it will not come down. Whereas from the energy distribution point of view, at lower wave, if you are giving a very high energy, what will happen? Say if you have a very low frequency and very small wavelength and very high frequency energy coming in. Small wavelength means high frequency, means high energy. High frequency means high energy. Say ultraviolet, say suppose X-rays. What will happen if you put too much of energy? What will happen? The entire thing will become transparent. So it will not absorb at all, or it may ionize the system. It will lead to a chemical change, which may not lead to radiation, which may lead to a chemical reaction. So this particular domain is the domain where you are operating with high energy waves. This particular domain when you are operating with the low energy infrared waves. So this follows classical statistical thermodynamics, right? Whereas in this situation, it will be the quantum statistical thermodynamics, and you will, for a given incident radiation, you will always find even a black body will pass through a maximum.
But like Planck's constant is even applicable ahead of the maxima. Like it's more of a generalized version, we can say, right?
Yes, not constant. The Planck's equation, Planck's hypothesis.
Oh, Planck's
right. It will be even easier if you look at this right hand side plot. Now here I have plotted three systems. This is a perfect black body. Here the temperature remains same. This is a perfect black body. This is a gray body with emissivity of 0.6. This is where your emissivity is 1. Whatever you are absorbing, you are radiating, you are emitting. Here you are emitting 60% of that. So you may see here the synergy of the maxima is more, because it is about how many molecules they are absorbing, but maximum remains to be the same. Right? But if you look at a real surface, which is not a gray body, not a black body, if you look at a real surface, if I perform an experiment, I may see the plot will look like this. Right? Now, why is that so? You can see, okay, again, maxima is very similar to this. This is understandable. But why these things are happening? Because a real material, it can be crystalline or amorphous. It may have the lattice defects. Right? I may have the experimental errors in terms of my detectors. So this is the typical, like, energy versus wavelength signature footprint of a real surface, which is away from the idealized black body or an idealized gray body. But you may see that gray bodies, they emulate a real surface more than the pure black body that we generally use in order to model these materials.
Yes.
Okay. Clear up to this point? Yeah, it will become more clear. But first argument, one has to get very clear that there are two aspects. This is the high wavelength aspect, intermediate to high wavelength aspect, where this is taking care of the low wavelength and high energy aspect. So now it becomes very easy for us. What are the salient features? What we have learned for last two classes. Now, shift in the maximum point of the radiation of the curve explains the change in the color of the body heated. So you may just go back here. See here, the energy is this, wavelength is this, right? So this is the energy that it is absorbing maximum and emitting maximum. So you may be able to see, say, suppose what is the wavelength here? Say, suppose 1.5 micron. What is your visible domain? What is the typical light? What is the wavelength of red?
400 nanometers to 700 nanometers.
So 400 is violet and 720 is suppose is red. So is it beyond that? This 1.5 what you are observing here? It's beyond that, right? It is much larger than that.
Yes.
1.5 micron means 1500 nanometer, right? It is about double of that. So if I heat a surface at 3000 Fahrenheit or 1900 Kelvin, what do I expect then? What is the radiation that I will observe? It will appear to me as a transparent radiation. I will not be able to see it. Whatever it is radiating, I am not able to see it. So what is the wisdom that I am getting? What is the inference that I am getting? The shift in the maximum point of the radiation curve explains the change in the color of the body as it is heated. Since the band of wavelengths are visible to eye only from 0.4 to 0.7 micron, only very small of the radiant energy spectrum will be visible to you. Your body is also radiating. The earth is radiating. This room is radiating. Everything is radiating some emission, but most of these radiations are not visible to our eyes because our eyes can only sense from 400 to 700 nanometers. So as the body is heated, the maximum intensity is shifted towards. When you heat it up with more temperature, you may see the maxima is shifting towards the smaller wavelength. So you may find that when you have an iron rod, when you start heating up, you will not see anything. It will heat up. You will get the heat that is radiating, but you will not really see it is heated up. But at some point of time, what you will see, it will become red hot. So that means it has arrived at 700. As you keep increasing the temperature, you will go. So first visible sign is the increase of temperature. Body is the dark red color. That's the reason why when you say that it is red hot. So red first appears because you see that you are shifting from here, which is infrared, to slowly as you are heating up, you are slowly this peak is shifting towards what? Peak is shifting towards the visible domain, which is in the nanometer domain. But again, when you are going here, you are again going towards what? The quantized states, which is explained by the statistical quantum thermodynamics. Right? With further increase in temperature, the color appears bright red, then bright yellow, finally white. Why white? Because now you are in the ultraviolet domain. Right? So it's very white hot, right? So then red, yellow, white means you have gone through the ultraviolet region. So the material also appears much brighter at higher temperature because the larger portion of the total radiation falls within the visible range. So when you heat up, why this is coming like red, orange, yellow, and then see you have seen the steel heating, right? Many video comes these days that when you are molding at high temperature, you are heating the steel, and then and for steel it is more easily visible. Why? Because it has a very definite crystalline structure. Molten steel. You will distinctly see the red, orange, yellow, and white colors of the emission that is happening through this molten steel when they are molded. Right? There are many, I think, WhatsApp, Facebook videos are coming where people make different types of objects where you will be able to really find those colors. In glass blowing sections also, you will be able to find those colors. Right? So now, to summarize the whole event in a very nice manner, what is that? Now, what is my situation? The situation is very simple. I have an incident radiation. A part of it is reflected and transmitted. Okay, this is, of course, I have to consider when I model, but my major worry, this is easy to calculate actually. I put a detector here, I put a light detector here, and I am able to calculate them. What is very difficult to calculate is what is absorbed and then what is emitted from here. These are the two aspects that will really keep me bothered, because here those non-linearities are coming. Here, I am basically operating in this particular domain, and I have to be really worried about that sort of calculation. Yeah. Any question? You have a question? No, fine. So what I do, I first assume that this rho, which is my fraction reflected, alpha, which is my fraction absorbed, and tau, which is my transmission. If I add those things, that is what is my total incident radiation, that is 1. Right? And then what I do, I define emissive power E. It is nothing but an energy. Emissive power, nothing to worry about. What is emissive power? It is nothing but an energy per unit area, per unit time. What am I trying to assume, trying to measure? So suppose if I have a surface, I have put some incident radiation. What is the energy per unit area, per unit time emitted by this body? And I'm assuming this to be whatever calculations now onwards we'll be doing, we'll be assuming most of the times this is a black body. So whatever is absorbed, that is emitted. First, let us learn that. Then only we will be able to really take care of the gray bodies. Right? So emissive power is what is the energy emitted by a material, right? Per unit area, per unit time. So that's why you are calling it as a power. So it very easily correlated to the rate of heat transfer. So how do you do that? Q is the rate of heat transfer, A is the area, and alpha is the absorptivity of the energy for a black body, which is equal to 1. Right? Great. And say, how do I define alpha? I define alpha E by EB. The energy by a particular material by energy by a black body as alpha. Right? Now, if alpha equal to 1, E equal to EB. And then if alpha equal to epsilon for a black body. So, again, epsilon becomes E by EB. So for a black body, this equation is quite simple, but for a gray body or for a real body, I have to really worry about this part. Great. Now, once I understand that, so if I have a sample, this particular sample may receive some incident radiation, but what will it see from this enclosure? What will it receive? It will receive this radiation, and what it will emit? It will emit this radiation. If this body is getting Qi into A into alpha from the enclosure, it is going to emit E into epsilon. This is the way. This is the emissive power. EA is emitted because it has received Qi A into alpha from the enclosures. We'll take this part into more detail as we go for the view factor calculations. Great. Any question here? Any question? If it is not there, then let us look into the aspect that how from the quantum statistical point of view, you are taking into the emissive power into account, emissivity into account, and absorptivity into account. So a gray body is defined such that the monochromatic emission of the body is independent of the wavelength. Okay, so the emission that it is going to do, that is independent of wavelength. So the monochromatic emissivity is defined as the monochromatic. What is monochromatic light? Monochromatic light is a light of a single wavelength. Before I really tackle all the wavelengths, I first worry about a single wavelength. And if I am able to tackle a single wavelength, what am I going to do? I'm going to integrate over all the wavelengths that are there. That will give me the total energy or the average energy, total emissive power or the average emissive powers or power of the material. So first I focus on the monochromatic emissivity, which we call as E lambda. That means I am fixing the wavelength to be say 100 nanometer or 200 nanometer or 300 nanometer. Right? That I define as E lambda divided by EB lambda. What is EB lambda? If a black body is emitting, what a black body is emitting at 100 nanometer to what is the material that I'm using is emitting at 100 nanometer. Right? So that is E lambda by EB lambda. Okay. Now the total emissivity of the body may be related to monochromatic emissivity will become what? Equal to 0 to infinity. This is the entire set of wavelength, that is epsilon lambda EB lambda into D lambda. Right? Now, if you integrate over this, how do you integrate over this? This energy, I'll come to this, the entire derivation. This you integrate over this. I have also shown in that PDF how is it done. So you are essentially, forcing this energy into here. And then if you are integrating over it, you may get like, sigma T to the power 4, something like this. Something like this. So if you are integrating this equation, this energy equation. So U is equal to this, and then what you are doing, you are integrating over a period of where is that? Yes. So here is that. So if you are integrating over, see, F you define as this, and then if you integrate 0 to infinity, you are going to get sigma into T to the power 4, which is happening here. So if you are putting this equation into this, and then you are evaluating the energy, that energy is going to give you what? This energy is going to give you sigma T to the power 4, and this is nothing but the Stefan-Boltzmann law. Right? To have a little bit more clarity, how do we go about that? So say suppose we are frequently interested in the amount of energy radiated from a black body in a certain specified wavelength. So I assume that says 0 to lambda. That means say suppose 0 to 100 nanometer. So what will be my emissive power? Emissive power will be 0 to lambda E B lambda D lambda. Whereas say the entire fraction of energy that is possible is 0 to infinity E B lambda D lambda. Right? Now we know that EB lambda is C1 lambda to the power minus 5 e to the power C2 lambda t minus 1. So essentially I am simplifying this equation. This I am taking as constant C1, and this part I am taking as constant C2, and then I am simplifying the equation like this. So this, if you can simplify, it comes out to be EB lambda by T to the power 5, C1 by lambda T to the power 5 e to the power C2 by lambda t minus 1. So this is what is your simplified equation, right? And then if you are integrating this equation, this EB lambda equation, Planck distribution formula, what you are going to get? You are going to get the total radiation EB from 0 to infinity to be sigma into T to the power 4. Right? And if you plot B0 minus B0 to lambda t by sigma T to the power 4 to lambda t, you may get a sigmoid graph like this. Which is going to tell you at which lambda t, what is your emissive power at what temperature. So this is going to give you this particular thing is going to give you a real idea about how is it going to happen in a particular material, right? And how exactly you are going to take care of that. So this particular plot has been tabulated here in terms of what? One parameter is called lambda t, other parameter is called EB lambda by T to the power 5, and the other parameter is called EB0 lambda t sigma T to the power 4. Essentially, we are taking everything from here. Now you see, how do I make use of these tables in terms of making simple calculations? I mean, this is the background that you needed in order to really do these things. Now let us look at an example problem. This is very, very important. Please concentrate. If you understand this problem, then you understand, I think, 20–30% of the way how exactly you have to tackle. First I am focusing on how do I tackle a black body radiation, right? So can anybody read this problem for me? Can somebody read this problem for me quickly? Yeah, Adarsh, can you read?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
A glass plate 30 centimeters square is used to view radiation from a furnace. The transmittivity of the glass is 0.5 from 0.2 to 3.5 micrometer. The emissivity may be assumed to be 0.3 up to 3.5 micrometer and 0.9 above that. The transmittivity of the glass is 0 except in the range of 0.2 to 3.5 micrometer, assuming that the furnace is a black body at 2000 degrees Celsius. Calculate the energy absorbed in the glass and the energy transmitted.
Great. What are these 3.5 micron, 0.2 micron? What are these? 0.3 micron?
So transmittivity.
No. Micrometer, if you have written, what do they mean?
Most I don't understand.
See, it is written that the transmittivity of the glass is 0.5 from 0.2 to 3 micrometer, right? What is this 0.2 to 3 micrometer? The 0.2 to 3 micrometer is the wavelength, right?
Yes, sir.
0.2 means 200 nanometer, right? And
Yes, yes.
3.5 means 3500 nanometer, correct? So this is the wavelength at which, what is the problem here? The problem is
So
given like,
that is micrometer, no?
0.2
Yes, yes,
micrometer
yes.
means, right? 0.2 micrometer means 200 nanometer, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So what do we do in general? If we look at a furnace, we put a glass here, right?
Yes, sir.
Through which we are looking at what is happening inside the furnace. This is that problem. And the area of this is 30 square centimeter, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the transmittivity of the glass, see, in the furnace you are heating up, right?
Yes, sir.
So the glass is also getting heated up. The glass that you have put in, that is also getting heated up. So the problem says that the glass has a transmittivity, 50% of the light that is there inside will come out. Okay, say suppose if this is the glass and you are heating up inside here. So whatever is the, because of the heat, whatever radiation is generated, it will come on the glass like this. Only 0.5 will come out. That means 50% will come out. Okay. Now that is from 200 nanometer to 3500 nanometer, right? These are the radiations that you can expect. So you will be able to really visualize them. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
These radiations are coming because that is between 400 to 700, correct? Now, what is the next line that is telling me? Can you explain?
So the emissivity may be assumed to be 0.3 up to 3.5 micrometer and 0.9 above.
So now, what is happening beyond 3.5 up to 3.5, whatever it is absorbing, it is radiating as a black body.
Yes, sir.
50% it is transmitted means we can assume that a part of it also is absorbed. So you can see 0.3 is absorbed, 30% is absorbed. And beyond 3.5, it is absorbing all the things. That's the reason why you are unable to see it.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Now, moreover, it says that the transmittivity of the glass is 0. Yeah, can you please mute? Yeah, the transmittivity of the glass is 0, except in the range of 0.2 to 3.5 micron. So it doesn't transmit anything. So you are unable to see anything if it is between 0.2 to 3.5 micrometer of wavelength. That means 200 nanometer to 3500 nanometer wavelength, right? Now, assuming that the furnace is a black body at 2000 degrees centigrade, you are heating it up. Calculate the energy absorbed in the glass and the energy transmitted. This will be the two important factors I have to calculate, correct? So what should I do? See, my limit is 0.2 to 3.5, right? So what do? I know that T is given 2000. So first I calculate the Kelvin into converted to Kelvin 2273. Okay, this is my first calculation. Then what I do? I calculate the lambda 1T, which is my first cutoff, 0.2. Using 0.2, T is already known. This comes out to be 454, whereas lambda 2 I calculate, this comes out to be about 8000. So I have two values of lambda 1T and lambda 2T, and then I have the area, which is 30 square centimeter, means about 0.09 meter square. So this is I have calculated. Now, when moment I have lambda 1T and lambda 2T, I go to this table. So what is my first lambda 1T value? It is 454. Now you see, below 1000, I have E lambda by T to the power 5, which is 0.02. Okay, and EB02 lambda T by sigma T to the power 4, this is also very small. So what I do, I write that below EB2 lambda 1. Lambda 1 means 0.2. This is, I write 0 because this is very, very small. This is almost 0. And at 8000, at about 8000, of course, I can really correct by interpolating between these two numbers. I get the same point to be about a 0.856. You may see that I have taken 0.8544, which is interpolating between the two numbers that is given. So this is the normalized energy between 0 to lambda 1, that is up to 200 nanometer, and this is up to 3.5 micron, which is 0.854. So we know that this is equal to what? Sigma T. We know that E is equal to sigma T to the power 4. Sigma is the Boltzmann constant. T we know, and from there we are able to get what? What is E? Total energy. Total energy at T that we have supplied is 1513 kilowatt per meter square. Now, how do I calculate the total incident radiation? What is the total incident radiation? How much radiation is coming in? So I know that this much. So 1.5 into 10 to the power 6, kilowatt watt per meter square. This is the total amount of incident radiation between this, because I am heating up, into what? Into this EB lambda minus 2 sigma to the power 4. This is 0.85 minus 0. So this is E, this is A, and this is what? 0.3 is what? 0.3 is the emissivity given to me. Right? The emissivity measured as, no, sorry, area. This is A. This is A. This is the difference between the energy. So I have to really take, this is 0 to lambda 2, this is 0 to lambda 1. The difference between these two is my EB lambda 1 to lambda 2 sigma to the power 4. And this is the total amount of radiation that is happening. So from there, I am able to really calculate what is the amount of radiation that I'm having in between. That is 116.4 kilowatt. Now, what is the radiation transmitted? It says that the transmittivity of the glass is 0.5, between these two. So whatever amount I have get incident, if I take 0.5 on that, so 58.2 kilowatt is what? It is the transmitted. It is transmitted. So what is the radiation absorbed? You can see, emissivity may be assumed to be 0.3, right? So 0.3 into 116 is this. And then 3.5 onwards, it is given 0.9. So you calculate that also. And then total radiation absorbed, you add these two in order to get that what is the total amount of radiation absorbed. Right? So this particular table actually helps you in getting what exactly is the radiant energy emitted between the two wavelengths, lambda 1 and lambda 2. And that you calculate using the energies, and that energies you can calculate using what? You have to calculate the parameters lambda t, EB lambda by T to the power 5, and then EB0 lambda t by sigma to the power 4, which is basically you are planning to calculate. This is basically the plot that has been tabulated here, which is used to calculate the first the emission, second the transmission, third is the absorption. Okay, we'll do more such calculations as we progress in the tutorial also. Any questions you have up to this point? Okay. Any questions? Great. So if you not have any questions, so now you can really understand. See, this is called the. Can anybody tell me why the global warming is taking place? What is the major reason for global warming?
Sir, depletion of the ozone layer.
Yes, but what exactly? Why exactly?
The incident radiation is unable to escape the planet. Like,
why is that so? So this particular effect is called the greenhouse effect. Okay, so you can explain whatever just we have done. From there, you can explain the entire thing in a very simple manner. So solar radiation has a spectrum approximating that is of a black body of 5,800 Kelvin. Right? Now, say ordinary window glass transmits radiation up to 2.5 micrometer, 2,500. It is about, say, suppose 4 times the visible radiation. So anything, if you put a window, anything up to 2.5 will be able to penetrate through a glass. So if you take a lambda t value, lambda t will come out to be about 14,500 micrometers. So this is exactly the same calculation that I'm making here. Now you can see 14,500 here, right? Now in a 14,500, you may see this is coming out to be 0.97. So 0.97 means, this part is 0.97 means, so the spectrum, we find the fraction of the solar spectrum below 2.5 micrometer is about, lambda t value is about 0.97. Thus, the glass transmits most of the solar radiation incident upon it. About 97% you will find it will be transmitted, right? In contrast, if you calculate the room radiation, which is at 360 below 2.5, in contrast, the room radiation is about 300 Kelvin, and below 2.5, lambda t is about 750 micrometer, right? So if you go here and find out 750, you may find this is to be about less than 2 to 3%. So it comes out to be about 0.001%. Lesser is the lambda t value. Lesser is the lambda t value. Smaller is the fraction that is going to be transmitted through the glass. So it is essentially what is happening. See, if you have a very high frequency radiation, it can penetrate, it get transmitted through the surface and hits the earth. But then, once it is absorbed by earth, what is happening? The energy of this incident radiation is going down. Now, when it is trying to escape back, its lambda is higher. Now that lambda is unable to penetrate through the glass. It is not transmitted through the glass, but rather reflected by the glass back in the surface. This is what is called the greenhouse effect. So looking at the lambda t value, looking at this EB lambda by T to the power 5 value, and looking at this EB0 to lambda T by sigma to T to the power value, you can really assume that what is the part of radiation that is absorbed and what is the part of radiation that is transmitted or reflected. And based on that, you can really make calculations of the greenhouse emission, how much it is. It is a carbon dioxide. If you generate too much of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, it creates a shield. It creates an atmosphere. In that atmosphere, solar light is easily able to transmit on the Earth's surface. But moment Earth absorbs some energy, moment we are absorbing solar radiation, now when we are emitting the low energy radiation, that is unable to transmit through these gas layers, which are done through the emission of the automobiles. COx, NOx, all the carbon dioxide, all the greenhouse gases, they are creating an atmospheric layer through which this is unable to escape. Now, greenhouse is not always bad. Greenhouse effect is also good. Like say suppose if you want to grow plant and all, where electromagnetic radiation you want to really confine at some place, you use greenhouse effect for agriculture and all. But the flip side of greenhouse effect is that the greenhouse effect also binds the energy, the heat that is coming from the sun on the earth, and then that is leading to the increase in the temperature of the earth. This is different from the ozone layer depletion. The ozone layer depletion has a different consequence. What it is doing, it is melting. The ultraviolet radiations are transmitted through these ozone holes. Basically, these ozone layers, they try and absorb the ultraviolet radiations of the solar energy, so that this ultraviolet radiations is not allowed even to come to the surface. But if it is not done so, you are getting exposed to ultraviolet. It is creating some of the greenhouse effects. But the other thing that it is doing, the danger is that it is melting the ice and it is increasing the water proportion in the world, right? Okay, so we finish with the definition of a black body. This we have already discussed. Now you may really appreciate the fact that a black body is a situation where any incident radiation is absorbed due to the electronic transitions and not at all escaping in the form of either transmittance or reflectance, but it is capable of emitting everything that it is absorbing. Right? So this is the definition of a pure black body, and if it is not the case, then that is a gray body. If the absorption is 1, and then if it is radiating 60% of it, then it's a gray body. And if it is absorbs whatever it is transmitting and reflecting, that is not the radiative energy associated with the material. Okay. So Monday we will start with this the view factors, because this is, I think, one lecture full. So we will be really discussing about one surface. How does it see the other surface? And then what is the effect of the incident radiation in terms of, say, suppose reflectance and transmittance and absorbance. If we understand this part, combined with these two lectures that we had, we understand about 80% of the radiation. You have. Any question you have? So I have deferred your tutorials until tomorrow. So you can submit by tomorrow. And the next Saturday, Sunday, 31st, I believe. 30th and 31st, we will have the quiz. And the syllabus will be up to whatever I teach up to 26th. And this is post NIPSA. Okay, great. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Bye-bye. See you on Monday at 12. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Sir,
please.
you told to submit tutorial on Sunday, so day after tomorrow, no, it is.
Yes, Sunday I told, no?
Yes, sir.
You
So
sub-
you now
sub-
you told no that till tomorrow.
Sunday. You submit Sunday. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Sunday night you submit. By Sunday night you submit. Okay. Yeah. Any other question you have? No? Then thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.